Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I am Michael Shane, and this is my channel all about my pets. Today's video is going to be a Pac-Man care guide. If you're not familiar with Pac-Man frogs, they are these derpy little frogs that are pretty big. They can get about yay big, and they pretty much do absolutely nothing. They're fantastic, they're wonderful creatures. I love to watch mine eat, but that's really about all she does. And I'm going to explain how to take care of your own little Pac-Man. First, I'm going to show you my Pac-Man frog's enclosure and just kind of how I have it set up. This is not by any means the only way to do it. It's definitely just one of the ways, and I plan to change this as she grows. She's still very small, and she just enjoys the things she does have. So that's just Mossy's little 10-gallon. She's in a 10-gallon until she grows too large or decides to move around more. A lot of people do say you can keep a Pac-Man frog in a 10-gallon for life. It depends on how much growth you get. I'm pretty sure that Mossy's a female. Sexing them is not the easiest thing. It's a waiting game with these particular animals. Mossy's still very young and could potentially be a male, and the way I'm going to figure that out is on the inner pad of his little hand. He will grow like a gray little nodule, or he will get a dark throat and start croaking. If she is a female, like I assume she is, she will just grow much larger than her male counterpart, and she won't croak. So in the Pac-Man world, the female is much larger and the male is smaller and does a call for mating. That's really the main difference, is just the size. They are both pretty large specimens, but the female just gets bigger, so I think most people prefer to keep females because they don't call, and of course they get larger, and that's where the fun is. So substrates. Substrates is the easiest thing I find with this particular animal. Literally, I just make a bucket of dirt every few months out of a brick, and that lasts me a good while. I can fill her tank 2 or 3 times with that because she doesn't need very much, just enough to bury herself in the moist ground. It works out pretty well. So I just use bricks of eco earth that I pick up at the reptile expos, and I keep those on hand. I have a literal bucket of dirt that floats around the house that we use to change her substrate out. Unfortunately, no other animal I have uses it, so I just have a bucket of dirt. As far as hides or anything decoration goes, it's gonna be pretty useless with this animal. A lot like my sand boa, she doesn't really use her hide. I have seen her go in there, of course, and she also likes to bury herself underneath her moss, which I have built into like a cave before I do little patterns with it and things like that, and she likes that. But generally they will hide underneath a plant. They'll go underneath things. They like to be in the dark, but they'll just bury themselves if all else fails. I would recommend having something in there for them to get underneath, such as a plant. They really like the kind of like umbrella plants. They love those, and that's really all you need to do to decorate their enclosure, unless you feel like doing more. But this isn't an animal that's going to climb or want to move around too much. The last and most important thing to put in their cage, as far as things you need to add in, is just a water dish. Mossy has a plain, simple, little, round reptile dish. It's actually a much smaller version of my ball python's bowl, and I think that's just funny. She will get in there to soak and wash herself off, but only if I literally just washed and cleaned it that day. Now, Pac-Man frog's diet is pretty simple. They'll eat just about anything that goes into their enclosure, so make sure you watch out for your fingers, especially if you feed worms and things such as that. I do recommend avoiding feeding any mealworms. They are way too coarse. That's why I feed crickets with tongs as well. They are prone to eating their substrate, which can cause impaction, even if it is eco earth, which is just ground up coconut. So the only other thing really to consider with Pac-Man frogs is misting their enclosure. I just use this little 98-cent spray bottle. So like I said, misting their enclosure is pretty simple. You just spray it until the ground is moist. You do not want to soak their substrate. They do get a lot of moisture through their skin, so they get it out of the substrate itself. They don't go drink water generally. So you want to make sure it's moist, but you don't want it to be soaking wet. You want them to be able to get away from that water and not end up with infections of the skin due to too much moisture in their substrate. Alright guys, so that's the video for today. It's just a little bit of how I take care of my Pac-Man frog. This is by no means a full care guide or all the ways you can take care of a Pac-Man frog, or the only way. There are tons of ways you can take care of these animals. There are tons of different ways to do almost everything with them, from their hides to their substrates. A lot of people do a lot of things different with these animals, and it's really awesome to get out there and kind of see how other people take care of them, how other people build the enclosures and do bioactive and things like that. Of course, Mossy will probably be getting a much larger enclosure in the future, as well as maybe bioactive, going for some plants and things like that, which will include lighting and maybe a little supplemental heating for those plants. But other than that, she's doing great in here. I'm loving watching her grow, and I do believe my favorite thing about her is when she eats. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. My other social media links will be down in the description below. Come follow me to find more cute images of all of my pets, and I will see you next time.